Welcome to Season 3 of Malevolent Autopsy. I'm your host, Queen. I use she, her pronouns, and I am so excited to be here with you all. Now, let me warn you, this show contains major spoilers for everything in Malevolent as of the day this episode is published, so if you are not caught up, I'm not liable. Before we get started tonight, I'd like to ask my lovely co-host, what part of Arthur's body are you betting on getting injured this week?
Howdy, hello, Vol Control here, he, him pronouns, and this week I'm betting Arthur's fucking brain is getting injured because my head hurts after this week's chapter.
Yeah, this week's chapter it almost felt like a brain teaser.
It was a thinker. It was a thinker.
Something that you read in a book in order to make your brain hurt. Can you remind the public what we just heard?
All right, buckle up. This week's chapter began with an exchange that felt like a warm, cozy blanket and fit like an old coat, a John description. Investigator Arthur is back on his feet and trying to get more information about what they actually intend to do, how it all works, which Lilith brushes off as trying to explain the unexplainable. The rest of the chapter is best summed up in a game of 20 questions. Why not trap Cain? Are we being naive? Will Cain be wearing a suit? Can it be that easy? Do we think Lilith is being honest with us? If not, what is she lying about? If the manager is the only Nyarlathotep left, then what? What if it's a long con? If Cain's dead, what happens to the Blackstone? Is everyone being played? What pieces don't we have? What are our options? You want to fight him with a broom? What does the lighter do other than provide light? What if putting the lighter on Cain is what brings on the end of everything? Is it possible that the manager offered Lilith something to do this? What happens after all this? What is our plan? And so, we are left spiraling about who to trust yet again. Do we trust Lilith and the manager's plan and put the lighter on Cain? Or do we doubt that their intentions are as they seem and wait to put the lighter on Cain?
And to add to that, to the insanity, we have the reintroduction of a character that some of us have been missing so bad. Booth John is back.
Booth John returns to the booth. Oh man, that blew my mind. Especially because it didn't sound like the softer John voice that we got during parts of this season recounting the votes. It sounded like Booth John.
So for those of you who are just joining us and haven't listened to the backlog of Autopsy, Booth John is the voice that Harlan has used for all of Malevolent's runtime to introduce the votes to us and kind of recap the chapter and how our vote was chosen from the last one, and bookend the chapter to give us our vote for the upcoming one. In the transcripts, it's labeled, for patrons only, it's labeled as unknown entity, but collectively the fandom has decided that's just John, so Booth John it is.
Yes, John in a recording booth. Booth John.
Yes. During season, he's sometimes been replaced by other substitute entities that have taken over the narrative briefly, such as when Scratch dragged the narrative into her claws, and when Cain did it, I think there was a point where Yorick did, but it was before he was named Yorick.
Oh, right. The Vanguard, yeah.
The Vanguard, yes, thank you. So there's been shakeups for Booth John, but then in season 6 we got a very sad, somber sounding Booth John, different from all the others.
We knew it wasn't Booth John. We were like, that's not our guy. Where's our sardonic asshole of a Booth entity bullying us for our choices?
Yes. And now we've recently been dealing with pretty much whoever's in the narrative giving us our choices, like the King or Lilith. But he's finally back. He sounds back to pretty much normal, just kind of explanatory and sassy, little ominous.
Oh man, now this is making me dread the outcome of this vote and how Booth John is gonna respond.
Oh, only week. Now.
Yeah, it only hit me now.
Only now we experience dread. Right. I would like to take a moment and just appreciate that this narrative device means so much to patrons who have been here. If you listen to the chapters on Patreon instead of listening to the full parts, you will hear Booth John, and the evolution of the way he speaks to the listener and the little nods and acknowledgments to whether or not Harlan's had time to pay attention to the debates that are going on, or sometimes he'll throw out insults. Sometimes we get told, like,
you picked bad.
You guys fucked up. Yeah, but then sometimes we get told we picked really good and we did good by John by helping him choose his identity and things like that. So it's truly the DM role personified.
Yeah.
It's never intended to be made public, so it's a very patrons only situation. I encourage you to go join the Patreon and look it up. I have made a compilation with Mizra's help in season 5 of just Booth John's lines that you can go listen to at a smash cut in one of the Discord channels, and that's also really fun. But I think the experience is really fun in real time.
Speaking of season 5 and Booth John's growth, Booth John referred to John as the entity until season 5.
Yes, he got his name.
And that was like a huge moment, but it's not even in the narrative. And it's just so, there's an interesting tiny little meta narrative going on with Booth John, but I don't think we're ever going to get real answers. I don't think there are real answers about who Booth John is other than another voice.
He was a device to help the podcast to be a vote-driven podcast without it being super cryptic.
Yes.
Sometimes we need the votes worded in a specific way to understand what we're voting for, and the narrative doesn't lend to us easily getting that. So Booth John is the solution to that, which I think is really fun.
Yeah.
It's a nice patron exclusive.
I totally agree.
So with all of that kind of being said, Vol,
yes,
what was your carrot?
My carrot for this week had to be the poetic choice of words, but very blunt explanation that Lilith gave about, like, what Nyarlathotep is. The way that she said, he's a thimble and a planet when he chooses to be. To define him is to taste air, to hold mist, to understand the emotions of a brick wall. I just love those descriptors. It scratched my brain in just the right way.
Yeah, I really liked the poetry in this chapter at that point. I also used it in my argument a little bit, so we'll talk about that later. But man, I loved the way this chapter was written in general.
Yes. And also when Lilith was when Arthur was trying to, like, ask about the lighter, and Lilith was like, think of it as red paint, and I'm the arrow.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, that's so good. That's so good.
She's great. I love her. Have I mentioned I love Lilith? She's great.
Yeah, she's awesome.
And I've never felt any other way.
Right. Yeah, now week to week, I have to pick a carrot that isn't a Lilith line because her lines are always so banger and so refreshing.
Yeah, absolutely. What was your stick?
I mean, we're walking into a forest of sticks now, guys. Like, this is...
it sticks all the way down.
It sticks all the way down from here. There are so many sticks to worry about. I couldn't pick just one. Just the stakes right now. I can't think too much about that. I just have to be strapped in and along for the ride because I will lose my mind. I know that I'm going to lose my mind over the final votes, I think, because end of season 5, I fully lost my mind.
I was, I think, the most passionate I've ever seen you about voting at the end of season 5.
I was treating the poll mines like my job.
Yes, and I loved that. It was great. Good times. Good times for a queen.
Well, what was your carrot this week?
The soundscaping and music cues in this chapter were particularly lovely. They're always great, but there's so much in this chapter that feels like we're going back, and in a good way. It feels like when you are at the end of a movie and they start using motifs from the very beginning and you get those, like, goosebumps of, like, oh, I was there for that. I remember that.
You're absolutely right. And I think that that's a really underrated part of this episode.
Yeah, there were so many opportunities for me. I could chunk out some of this chapter and put it in season 1 and it would feel right.
Yeah.
Like it was it reminded me so much of that opening interest I had in what is this podcast?
Yeah.
What are we getting into? What's going to be around every corner and behind every door in a way that I haven't really felt in a while.
Right.
Not because it's not because it's gotten less interesting or something. There's just other things to focus on. And so like the exploratory Arthur goes here and opens this door has kind of been left behind for greater stakes. And this made me really miss and appreciate that part of it.
No, absolutely. And another thing is the nature of their conversational patter. I was noticing this, me and a couple of the other people in the chat were noticing this, that like their patter is so natural, and then I took a step back and realized what that recording experience is like for Harlan, and the fact that he does it in 2 separate takes on 2 separate tracks, and yet it sounds so natural, and it sounds like 2 people talking to each other. And I really love how casual, despite the stakes, how casual their conversation was able to be in this episode. It really did feel like a return to normalcy, or like an old coat.
Well, Vol, you have direct experience knowing what it's like to have one voice on one track and another on the other track and have to line them up to sound natural.
I sure do.
And if and if you have to imagine that, but you're doing both parts and you record them all. Like, reminder, he records all of this in one take. It's not like he records Arthur speaking, then flips tracks, records John speaking, flips tracks, vote. He does all of Arthur's lines and then all of John's lines, and like lines them up like that. And
he's such a skilled voice actor. It's crazy. It's bananas.
It borderline stresses me out, because if I had to do that, it would be a nightmare. I think I'd break down. I don't know that I would be able to do that. It's so good. He's so good at it, and I'm sure the years and years of practice have definitely refined that skill. But truly, I forget that that's how he does it.
Yeah. Because like as a writer, I'm used to juggling multiple character voices in my head, and I get that. I totally understand that. But the idea of then doing it live and having to carry a conversation where you're only doing half of it at once, insane.
Crazy. Bananas.
What was your stick this week, Queen?
If you utterly fail in all ways, I have options. What do you fucking mean? What do you fucking mean I have options? What are your options? What if we pick wrong, and then Lilith has to fall to an option, and I don't like that option.
Right. We need to stop calling them sticks and just call them what do you means, because I feel like every week we pick a line that makes us go, what do you mean?
What do you mean, with like the most amount of concern you can possibly inject into my face?
Right. I hadn't thought to be scared about that line. So thanks for the new fear unlocked.
You're welcome.
I thought that
you're welcome.
I thought that was like a note of hope. Like, we have options, contingency plans. I don't know why I thought the hope was going to come from that area in this Hope Horror podcast.
From Lilith.
Yeah, because that's definitely not where the hope's coming from.
No, when she says, if you utterly fail in all ways, I have options, to me that means if you fuck this up, I have ways to get what I need to get done, but that's going to come at cost.
Yeah.
Like, for me, Lilith is the kind of person who's like, okay, I need this guy destroyed at all costs, which means, like, I'm willing to Thanos snap the population.
Oh my god.
Like, I fully believe that she's gonna get shit done. I just think that our part in it could be like making it not the worst case scenario.
Right. Yeah. If we could avoid leaving Lilith with no other option than something extreme, or potentially having larger repercussions than just Arthur dying. Yeah, I am a little concerned. I have some concerns about that.
Well, before we go into the vote, I do want to talk about the fact that if you're new here, the vote drops usually the day after the chapter, so that those who, because the poll goes straight to people's inboxes on Patreon if you're subscribed to those emails, so they can kind of be spoilers. So there is like a 24-hour buffer for people to listen to the chapter before the vote drops. And the wording of the poll in that first 24 hours, when we don't actually have the poll up on Patreon yet, can be a real sticking point for people. They tend to think, well, I'm kind of leaning this way, but let me wait to see how the vote is worded, because Booth John doesn't always give us the actual wording of the poll. Sometimes he's just there to monologue explain. And I think it's really interesting the way that he explained this vote. So I'm going to read the way that we were given the vote. Remember that this is what we had to sit with for 24 hours, and then I'll read you the actual poll that came out. And that's kind of like the Patriot experience.
Yes.
The situation is becoming complex. Lilith, while seemingly earnest in her desire to stop Cain, still has the potential to be a dangerous ally. The manager is a question mark entirely. And you stand on the edge of the great beyond with a choice. Do you stand with Lilith and the manager, choosing to put the lighter in Cain's pocket as soon as possible? Or is there enough doubt in your mind to carve your own way? Both are risky. One surely will be met with doom.
Great. Thanks.
So this is what we had to talk about.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Thanks for there's definitely a wrong answer here.
If you thought there wasn't a wrong answer, you're wrong. Yeah, so this is what we had to sit with, and I will say that, of course, we all kind of know as patrons, but if you're new, you may not. Booth John is not really a friend. He's not to be trusted. People are very skeptical of Booth John and his relevance. Sometimes he is manipulating the words in the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes his whole point is just seed doubt in your mind where there shouldn't be any.
Absolutely.
It's basically a DM. And so that being said, it's very hard not to be influenced. So there are people who...
As we always say, like, Booth John is my friend, but I am not Booth John's friend.
Yes, we love Booth John. It is not reciprocated.
Yes.
So with that being said, the vote this week was trust, parentheses, put the lighter on Cain, versus doubt, parentheses, wait to put the lighter on Cain. Right now on Friday night, trust is in the lead with 52% versus doubt at 48% with 430 votes total. So it's been pretty close.
Yeah. I've only been able to peek my head into the poll mines a few times this week, and it has been popping off. It has been a very strong push to flip, but there's still a lot of really strong voices who are advocating for don't trust, for doubt rather.
There are great points on both sides. I flipped a million times. This is not one of those votes where I'm like super sure of myself or, more sure than usual. This is a very wishy-washy vote for me. I could be convinced minute to minute differently.
Yep.
Right now I feel fairly confident in my vote, which is to trust. What about you, Vol?
Oh, I checked earlier, and apparently I clicked trust several days ago, so... This was definitely one of those chapters I walked out of in just sort of a daze, and I found that this was very much an almost universal experience, because after the chapter dropped, as people were trickling into poll chat, everyone was like, I don't know what to do. What are we gonna do, guys? How am I supposed to vote? What are we gonna do? And so this was one where I had a lot of thoughts, and I couldn't coalesce them into one solid argument, but I decided to go with trust. And I think that there was one feeling that I think I had instinctively, and then there was another feeling that I had later while reading through Slow Poll. My instinctive feeling was, do not pick the choice that is saying, well, we can do it later. I never trust the idea that we can do it later. Like that, historically bad. But then I think it was Oro in Slow Poll brought up the fact that choosing the trust option means not only putting the lighter on Cain, but also telling Lilith about our doubts. And I feel good about that.
Yeah. Well, I will say an interesting note on this is when I did a temperature check in that first 24 hours before we had the actual wording of the poll, there was a majority that were active in the Discord who wanted to doubt but I think that might partially be my fault because I didn't have a way to word it. I didn't know what the
Yes.
wording was going to be. So I just grabbed what Booth John said exactly. And I said, follow the original plan versus carve your own path. And carve your own path sounds so fucking baller.
For
So
sure.
have to admit, that is already a very appealing option, especially from some of the themes that we've seen in Malevolent so far. So I get that. There's also so many great arguments for that we'll be getting into with voice messages because everyone covered pretty much I think the hottest points. And chat, please point out and tell me if you think some of the really big points didn't get covered in voice subs. But I think we got a good selection smattering here.
Excellent.
For me, personally, the reason I'm voting trust, first of all, my gut instinct was trust. And I think every time I've moved away from my gut instinct, I've regretted it, even though it may not always be quote unquote the right choice. I think sticking with my gut is something that I'm trying to be better at. Yeah. And whenever I navigate away from it, I kind of go, oh, maybe I should have seen what happens if I stick with my gut. But
when you're swayed by people in poll chat, there's so many really, really smart people with really good points and really good research from pulling quotes from other parts in the podcast and pulling lore and things like that. And so it's really easy to be like, oh, that's a really good point, and be like, oh, I'm gonna switch my vote. And it's so easy to go back and forth because there's so many smart, amazing people.
Well, and polls are not designed to be a one-size-fits-all. There's not actually a set of rules that apply to every poll. Yes. Sometimes we're voting on a narrative theme. Sometimes we're voting on a callback. Sometimes it's deeper than that. So it really just depends. You have to pick and choose what you're going to think about. You can't encompass it all. So the interesting thing is that there is so much evidence on both sides that people can pull out in direct quotes that tell you to vote for one or the other. There's equally as many quotes that apply to trust as doubt, and it's very hard to say that anything is more legitimate than the other. And the whole point of the poll is that you are never going to be 100% sure.
Right.
So it's designed to be that way.
Absolutely.
I further was just in mourning because before this chapter, I didn't question the plan.
I know.
I didn't.
I know. R.I.P. the plan.
Was devastated to come out of this chapter going, we had a plan.
I know.
We were following a plan.
I know.
And now we're doubting the plan. I love plans.
I mean, I had to love John saying, or we follow our own plan. And Arthur's like, what plan? And John's like, we don't need a plan. We'll figure it out. I was like, John, sweetheart, I love the spirit. Love the spirit, but I'm not sure that holding hands and jumping into the abyss without a plan is necessarily the best direction.
I felt so good when I knew that I could write out the steps we needed to take on a piece of paper, and it was concrete and normal and cool and good.
I know.
And now Arthur and John sat around spiraling, and I'm doubting everything, and it sucks. So I'm voting trust because can we just stick to the original plan? I like plans. You don't have a plan on the other side, and I like plans.
Right.
The end.
Well, and sort of on the other side of this made me think about some of the votes at the season 5 finale, where there were a couple of different votes that felt like opportunities for Arthur to spit in the eye of God. And I remember there was one vote where I was like, fuck yeah, spit in the eye of God, Arthur Lester, that's our guy. And then it went really, really poorly. And the following week, immediately, I was like, no, we can't do that. Don't spit in the eye of God, Arthur Lester. So I feel like some people are taking this vote as the, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me, anti-authority vote, where they'll vote doubt because they don't trust Lilith and the manager as authority figures here, and everything they're not telling us, and blah blah blah. But I'm not. I don't know. It's again, you could frame this vote in so many different ways, and I don't know if this is the anti-authority frame to go with.
I'm sure I've gone on a rant about it before, so listen to other episodes of Autopsy for the whole thing. But the more people tell me not to trust somebody, the more I want to trust them. Fuck you. I want to trust whoever I want to. Damn it. I just, first of all, I don't know, to me, it's so. I try to stay away from like, I'll be upset about this character beat if it turns out that if I was supposed to trust this person the whole time, or I wasn't supposed to trust this person the whole time, because there's never been a choice in Malevolent where I'm like, that character arc sucked.
Right.
Like
right.
I don't ever follow that.
Yeah.
Maybe it could happen, but I'm really doubtful that it will, because of the track record Malevolent has with me and my personal preferences.
Yeah.
Tends to do pretty good with keeping me happy about the arcs that characters have. So for me, this is just not really a vote about, I know it literally says trust and doubt, but to me it's more,
It's not about that.
It's more about,
it's
like,
actually not about trust.
It's not about that. I sound like a psycho, but I mean, it's not about trusting and doubting people. It's about trusting and doubting a plan.
Yes.
And to me, those are such different concepts. Like, no, you can't trust anybody you're working with. Okay.
Right.
Blanket statement. We're in a horror genre.
Yeah.
Nobody's trustworthy.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you don't, like, you lone wolf it.
Yeah.
Okay. There's going to be a really good submission I want to point at. I don't want to say the point before they say it because I don't want to steal it. So
Can I make a quick detour before we do?
Yes.
Can you imagine if we had entered the fandom while everyone was so suspicious of Noel? Can you imagine?
Oh my God, I would not have. I don't know if I was in the Discord. I don't know if I could have handled it.
Because I've heard stories that there was a lot of like suspicion about Detective Noel when he first showed up on the scene, and I don't know that me and Queen would have survived.
I would have been in my corner going, they're so dumb.
Hydrus, I see you in the chat. I see you, Hydrus.
Hydrus and I are always polar opposites, and I think we might be aligned on this vote. No, we're not.
No.
We were aligned, and then we drifted apart, I think.
Yeah, Hydrus has a really interesting theory that almost flipped me.
Everyone has some incredible points to make. I'm actually super excited to get to voice submissions.
I'm also really excited because I, for one, have not pre-listened to them this week.
You didn't pre-listen? Oh, this is going to be fun for you. It's always fun for me because that's how I do it. All right, guys, let's get buckled the fuck in.
Hiya, Autumn here, and quite honestly, I have no idea what to do. Apparently I'm a naturally suspicious person, because my knee-jerk reaction was to wait to give Kane a lighter, this being for many reasons. I don't trust the manager. He's in Yarlathotep for one, and for two, his initial goal before Lilith died was to wake Aberthoth ending reality. Why would that have changed now, especially now he has his partner in crime back? And I also don't really trust Lilith. She killed Arthur's parents, which I feel like we forget, and she knows her pride fucked up her chances in season 5 at the end, but she's making the same mistake here and not confiding in us. It kind of suggests that her plan will result in an outcome not welcome for us or the rest of reality. But one interesting thing to note is how Lilith was so insistent on Arthur looking like he let go of Thoreau, even though he hadn't really. It makes me wonder, does her and the manager's plan hinge on Arthur letting her go? Another instance of where this is important was in part 12, where the king needed Arthur to let go of Thoreau so he could possess him. Could the plan be to use Arthur as a vessel for Cain? The lighter could be similar to the coin that marked Henry as Shub's vessel in Call of Cthulhu 1, though I'm not entirely sure how they would kill Cain afterwards, since they don't have a handy time paradox lined up to erase him. Ultimately, though, Lilith didn't force Arthur to forget Thoreau, which is why, contrary to my initial reaction, I'm going to take that leap and trust her. If not for this reason, simply just because it feels better in the moment. Anyway, that's all. Have a good autopsy.
Thank you, Autumn, for your submission.
That is a really good point. I think that the fact that Lilith didn't make Arthur forget Thoreau and allowed him to keep that memory, I think that there's something there. But I also had a thought earlier where I realized so Lilith hasn't been forthcoming about all parts of her plan. And part of that started in the Dark World and in the Dreamlands. And those places, we think Cain can't necessarily hear her. But now that they're on the material plane or whatever, the way that Lilith was being so cavalier and talking about how oh yeah, there's rooms and hallways in the house that will help me with being strategic. I was like, you literally just said that Cain is beyond whatever. In any case, I have to wonder if maybe her plan isn't to quote unquote just kill Cain. And she's saying that to like plant a seed or something.
Yeah. I think it's a really good idea to remember how Lilith spoke in all of the settings we've seen her in
Mhm.
and compare it to now and what she's saying and how you would perceive it if you were Cain listening
Right,
to all of
exactly.
this. Like, she knows that we could at any moment be watched or interrupted
Uh-huh.
because I don't seriously think that Lilith is of the mind that hiding in hallways and shit is gonna help her kill Cain. But like, I definitely think that she's might be relying on pretending to be that ignorant so that Cain thinks she
Right.
is that ignorant.
Right. Yeah, I'm very
I would say
curious.
shit to throw off my enemy.
Yeah.
I would say, oh yeah, I know he has a glowing weak spot in his abdomen.
Right.
Well,
Right.
he goes, no, I don't.
Right. But I think I appreciate you sharing your experience, Autumn, with going immediately for doubt because yeah, we can't trust the true intentions of Lilith or the manager because we don't know and maybe we can't even comprehend it with our stupid little mortal minds. But I do think that the smart decision for me, it sounded like a better idea. I don't know. This vote's so hard because it goes either way. Because either he sounds like, yeah, we should go along with the original plan. Like, we can't really trust them, but what else are we gonna do? Which sounds stupid. Or you're gonna end up with, no, we should go with our own plan, even though we don't have one, and that also sounds stupid.
So I think he's gonna sound smart no matter what. I think he'll find a way to make this doubt trust vote sound good.
Yes.
I just do think it's such an interesting time to give us the choice to doubt.
Yeah.
What does that mean that we have the choice to doubt? Poll chat always doubts.
I know.
That's what poll chat does. So like, why do we get to vote on it?
I think you were joking when we first listened to the chapter that this episode was just John and Arthur spiraling like poll chat does. It was just a good representation of what we already do in poll chat.
Yes, I actually went. So Great Old Ones have a special area where, Harlan comes and chats sometimes. And I actually I went in there and I was like, dude, it's like you went into poll chat and went, can I put this into John and Arthur? Because that's exactly what it was. It was just two people going back and forth over these options. And at the end, Arthur's like, or we're just complicating this and spiraling.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, that's what it is. That's poll chat.
Yep.
That's it. It was really good.
Hello, Autopsy. Gogoat here. Any pronouns. I've missed John so much. His dynamic with Arthur by extension. Their banter, John being like a detective, and Booth John too. His voice has so much life in comparison to the king. Oh, I've missed him. I said in a previous note that I was worried about Lilith having Larson's voice, but Harlan continues to prove how different he can make two technically identical voices sound very, very different. Word choice, inflection, pitch. Larson's voice, yet completely not at all. Every line she says, I can just imagine her standing there in Larson's body with her hands on her hips. I don't know, that's just the visual I have for her now. Now for the vote. If Malevolent has taught me anything, it's that you should not take anything that any of these characters say at face value. I believe Lilith when she says that her ego isn't getting in the way, but I still don't trust the plan. It is far too simple, and Lilith's insistence to not share anything irks me a little bit. Either A, there's something she or the manager really doesn't want us to know, or B, she doesn't know either. Either way, I think going with our plan or no plan is the best option. This end scene really reminded me of a moment in part 17. John makes a joke saying they probably won't make it, that's where the betting kind would put their money. And Arthur says, I'll bet on us. Thank you. So I say, bet on us. Follow our plan, delay the lighter. Even though last time we had no plan, Arthur disintegrated. But I still say we follow our plan. That's all. Bye-bye, Autopsy.
Thank you for your submission, Gogo, and for reminding us that the last time we didn't have a plan, Arthur disintegrated.
A very important reminder. Also, you are spot on about the visual of Lilith in Larson's body, hands on hips. It's perfect. And I seriously, I can't it blows my mind that it is almost the identical Larson voice, and yet I don't hear Larson anymore. I just hear Lilith. It's crazy.
Yeah, me too. I forget that it's Larson's voice if that sounds crazy to you. To me that's Lilith.
Well, again, I mean, it's kind of like how mind-blowing it is that Arthur and John having a conversation is one person in a recording booth. You know?
Yeah.
But I am curious what would happen if we deviated from the plan. I am curious because
of course you are. Of course you are.
You know me. I'm
devil, get back.
I'm curious what they would do instead. And I'm curious if this is like the once in a lifetime malevolent vote opportunity where if we wait, we get another chance to do it again.
Vol.
Yes.
Vol, curiosity killed the cat, and I hate to tell you this, but Arthur has been brought back way too many fucking times for it to work again. There's no fucking way.
Yeah.
You can't just vote on curiosity. You can't. You can vote doubt. That's fine. But oh my God, don't be curious now.
But what if? But don't you want to know what would happen?
No. I want to know. I want a plan. I want a plan. I want a spreadsheet. I want Lilith to pull out a piece of paper and invent the first ever spreadsheet. Yeah. I want to know what we're fucking doing. Yeah, I don't want to have...
But Lilith's not going to tell us what the whole plan is anyway, so we would have a more reliable plan if John and Arthur knew what their plan was and put it on their spreadsheet, right?
I mean... No, we don't have time to develop a full plan. They've admitted it.
Battling spreadsheets.
They've admitted that they don't have a plan, that they are just going to wing it.
Oh, yeah. Autumn in the chat reminds me of what the end of that phrase actually is. Curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back.
Okay, so I think you guys all misunderstood what I was trying to say.
No, I got what you were trying to say.
With that phrase?
No, I got what you were trying to say. I just couldn't remember the wording of the actual phrase.
Yeah, I was going for curiosity killed the cat, but Arthur's not capable of being brought back by satisfaction because he has been brought back to life too many times. And that's been explaining the joke because I'm not funny naturally. Thank you for coming. Let's read an email. Okay, so this next submission is an email. Hi, Autopsy. I'm Fractals. I use AM and its pronouns. I'm voting doubt primarily for the reason that I am doubting. I don't think Lilith is lying, but I do think she is blinded by her desire to kill Cain. I want to trust the manager, but I can't. Leaving one Nyarlathotep is so dangerous, and we have no way to know if the plan he told Lilith is even what his actual plan is. There are so many strange and unclear things about this plan that make me think there is more going on here, and so we should wait. I also trust John and Arthur, and I trust their judgment much more than I trust the entities that are trying to use us as pawns in their plans. Thank you, Fractals, for your submission.
Yeah, considering that killing Cain would make the manager the last Nyarlathotep, yeah, that's a big red flag. That's a big pain point. But again, I'm curious. I want to know what he's gonna do. I just want to know. So that's why I'm on board with trusting and just seeing what happens.
Well, I think it's interesting that people are so concerned about there being like the last Nyarlathotep and which one it is, because like neither one of them are good.
Right.
Like what does it matter if there's, I don't know, wouldn't you rather have one less?
I thought it was really interesting that Arthur said even the best version of him. I was like, Arthur, do you know that? Are you so sure about that? I mean, he did bring you back to life, sure, and it sounds like he's trying to stop the end of the world happening, but I don't know if he can go against his nature completely, necessarily.
So the interesting thing is, something I keep forgetting, Cain's plot is not to destroy the world or the universe or whatever. Yeah. He wants to just break free. This isn't like, the fact that reality might end is not the intention. It's not the intention, it's the symptom. It just
Right.
happens to be a possibility.
Right.
And so, like, if you follow that conclusion, technically it is a pretty big risk. You have to bet on whether or not this manager will want to also break free eventually
Right.
and get tired of being, in the position that he's in. Now, here's the thing. We already know for 100% sure that Kane wants this and that he's willing to sacrifice reality in his wager.
And we know that the manager wanted that once upon a time.
Right. And we don't 100% know if the manager will ever get to that point, if he is at that point, and this is just like a cunning scheme underneath it all to be the Kane that breaks free instead.
Right.
But I just don't understand, like, what's worse than the known person who is going to execute the plan is the one that we need to worry about, not the person who maybe might do the plan. Like, to me, it just feels like we're putting all our eggs in the wrong basket if we're not, quote unquote, I'm going to say it, everyone's going to boo me, trusting the manager for right now.
Priorities. It's about priorities, I think.
It's about priorities.
Yeah.
Hello, Autopsy. Hydrus. I do not trust Lilith. Polchat knows this. I don't trust the manager. Polchat also knows this. My stance on this vote surprises no one. I very strongly do not want to follow the initial plan. Besides the petty reasons of Lilith and the manager being outright rude and refusing to let us know any of the details, I genuinely don't think this plan will work. I don't think killing Kane is possible. Beyond the meta reason of Kane being Harlan's special evil little Pookie Bear, Lilith has tried this route before. She attempted to kill Kane while using Arthur as bait and got a few fingers through the skull for her trouble. Very little has changed from that first attempt, and despite what Lilith claims about having a clear head, I don't believe it. I don't. I do believe, however, that we need to force her hand. We know from the quasi-canon Call of Cthulhu game files that Nyarlathotep has been trapped before, specifically in a prism. Regardless if this is still canon to the timelines, it's at least something that Harlan has thought of before, which means it's a possibility. Lilith simply says that trapping him would require a lot more effort, and I think that if we are preventing the end of the world, maybe a little effort is due. Ultimately, this entire plan uses Arthur as the linchpin, the bait. Kane will not show up for just anyone else. We hold all the cards here. Lilith won't reveal herself until we put the lighter on him. We can use that extra time to our advantage and trap him rather than wasting effort on something that's already been tried. Remember, the definition of madness is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Hi, yeah, thanks, Hydrus. But that's not actually what we're doing, okay? I have to say, Lilith failed because she worked alone, okay? The point is, Lilith wouldn't be alone if we were helping her. And she did disclose very early on, we are not supposed to know the whole plan. And yes, then you could argue that I'm not going to trust her unless she tells me the whole plan. We're the linchpin. She needs us. We should be forcing her to tell us. Here's the thing. She's not going to tell us the plan. We can't get her to cough it up. We've had all of this time and she hasn't done it yet. And for Arthur to go up to her and be like, well, I'm not using the lighter on Kane until you tell me what the plan is. She'd be like, okay, dude, end reality then.
I think that if we doubt, we're not going to have that conversation with Lilith at all. Whereas if we choose trust, we're going to potentially have that conversation with Lilith about our doubts, so that, free and clear communication, and maybe she will assuage our concerns by telling us more of the plan? ?
Well, and I also think that it's so difficult for me to conceptualize what the fuck Arthur thinks he's gonna do when Kane shows up. And Lilith thinks we're doing her plan.
Yeah.
Everything looks like it's on track.
Yeah.
And then Arthur pulls a 180 and starts monologuing again about the fact that Kane, you have to promise not to wake Azathoth. Like, what is he gonna actually do? Like, yes, the power of friendship. Arthur can do anything. Trust John and Arthur. But, think about it from a realistic standpoint. What is Arthur gonna fucking do? He knows less than Lilith right now.
And Hydrus, you didn't even bring up the part of your arguments in poll chat that almost swayed me. Hydrus, so, there's been this conversation about the potential that Arthur is going to be used as a vessel for Cain, either to trap him or to make him kill a bull. But also, when Hydrus mentioned that Nyarlathotep had been able to be trapped in a prism, Hydrus mentioned that we got the lamp in the Dreamlands. I don't know where in our nebulous inventory that is, if it's still with us, but Hydrus was like, we got a genie Cain into the lamp. And I was like, oh my God, we got a genie Cain into the lamp. Yeah. Yeah.
I have to say, if they had brought up the lamp even once this chapter, that might have had me vote down.
Yeah.
Dead ass, if they brought up an item, I might have been like, okay, you know what? We could use that for something.
Yeah.
That's gonna come in handy for some reason.
And we haven't even heard it. I think we would hear lantern sounds if the lantern was meant to be memorable, brought up again. Although, then again, I don't know. Maybe we missed some path where the lamp would have been utilized.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's hard to tell. Our next submission is an email. Hello, Nukuome, it. Just wanted to briefly say it's probably a lot safer to assume the manager and Lilith are on our side rather than risk ending existence. We know for certain what Cain is planning. We don't know for certain what the manager is planning. I'd say we need to deal with Cain first since he's the biggest threat right now. If the manager plans on also ending existence, Lilith seems very against that and will more than likely help us stop him too. But for now, Cain is a guaranteed threat and should be top priority. We can worry about things later, but we won't be able to worry about anything at all if nothing exists anymore. Those are just my thoughts. Have a great autopsy. Thank you, Nukuome.
The devil that you know, like I do think that it's important to deal with what's in front of us and the devil that we know right now, rather than deviating from that to worry about what happens after that. Yes. That was part of the spiral. We know that John and Arthur are thinking about what happens after all of this, but that's like a later problem, That's like
it's a problem for future.
Yeah. We'll get to that. We'll get to that when we get there. It's fine. We don't need to plan ahead.
I'm screaming on the inside. I want to plan ahead so bad.
I know.
Hello, Autopsy. I'm Oro. Damn. Sorry if I sound a bit shitty. I'm sick, unfortunately. So, this week I'm voting for trust. And I know, okay, I get it. Lilith is not the most trustworthy type, but we cannot divide this team before the fight has even started. Lilith admitted this very chapter that a big part of why last time we failed is because she couldn't put aside her ego and work with us. That if she had included us in her plan and we had worked together, things could have gone differently. If we face Cain divided, he's going to wipe the floor with us. Again, we need the help. And as far as this goes, we can't trust Lilith. She wants the same thing we do. Stop Cain, or whoever, from ending existence. I even think that she must have considered what could follow Cain's death. She's smart. She's bright. She either has a plan, or maybe, she's not admitting to wanting to trap Cain instead of killing him to not tip off the manager, who, if he really wanted to end reality, wouldn't like that. Or maybe I'm spiraling. Maybe we are all spiraling, and we should all stop doubting ourselves and everyone else and just start trusting again. So, vote trust.
Thank you, Oro. Hope you feel better. But oh my God, I loved that submission. I loved it. I was in love with it. You are beautifully articulating the sentiment that I feel so strongly but just did not have the words for, which is like, we have been told over and over again explicitly, Lilith has the same goal we do, to stop Cain.
Right.
And I don't feel like that's a gotcha. I feel like that's true.
Yeah, I feel like that has been like a sterling truth.
Yes, and I don't feel like that's up for a huge debate. I do understand that we're told very early on, again, that I'm saying this again twice, but like, she wasn't going to ever tell us everything.
Yes.
There were secrets
yes.
that had to be kept from Arthur intentionally. And so I feel like we're kind
That
of...
was part of the deal. That was part of the deal from the get-go.
What is that phrase I'm looking for? It's what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
This is exactly what we signed up
Right.
for, is that Lilith, and we are aligned with Lilith on killing Cain or stopping Cain, whatever that entails. And to choose doubt in this moment, to me, says, I am not willing to continue to trust that truth, and that I don't trust her to do it, and I feel like I know better. And at this point, I don't.
Yeah, I think that the one thing that we can trust is that Lilith wants to kill Cain regardless. I don't think the manager put her up to that. I think she just wants to fucking kill the guy. Like, she just really hates the guy. And so I think that whatever the manager might be offering or sweetening the deal with, I'm not sure that necessarily sways Lilith to want this more. So I don't know how much... I think you make a good point that maybe Lilith has a plan for how she's going to deal with the possibility that the manager is going to go one way or the other, or go rogue or whatever. And I love that you built on the thought that I had earlier about the fact that maybe Lilith is performing because she knows that the manager's listening as well, and she wants the manager to think that she's going to kill Cain rather than trap him. Ooh, the wheels within wheels, man.
Well, I have to read this out because I've seen some discussion in chat where this excerpt might be relevant to refresh everybody. Part 57, Arthur and Lilith are talking about Cain. And Lilith says he needs the obelisk in order to complete his plan. The obelisk? He may have all 3 stones, but he needs to put them somewhere. Well, where's the obelisk? I don't know, and even if I did, I wouldn't tell you. You're too easy to read. Arthur, to read? Lilith, in fact, I think it's best if you don't know much of my plan, only what's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Then Arthur says, you told me to stop being a pawn, and Lilith responds, that was before I remembered how easily I tricked you, how easily I shook you to your core. Arthur argues, if we're doing this together, we're doing this together. And Lilith, of course, sasses back and says, until I find a way to take over, sure, tell yourself that.
Right.
But and then they go on to bickering. But she explicitly said, if Arthur knows everything, he's going to give it all away.
Yeah, he doesn't have a whole lot of good little, like, mental shields from eldritch entities. I mean, I'm amazed that John can't read his mind because he is so transparent sometimes, but...
Truly.
Taliesin, he, him. So one of my biggest arguments for trust is that there's strength in numbers. We don't need to be besties with Lilith and the manager, but we can trust them enough to know that they also want Cain dealt with. And we need allies in this final fight against Cain. The only person who benefits from us doubting our allies is Cain himself. I'm not trying to placate our allies because I'm worried about their feelings. I'm choosing to trust them because this is the end game and we need to keep our alliance strong, or Cain is just going to exploit that somehow. If our alliance crumbles before we even start, then no plan is going to work well. We've seen that Cain has spent so much time trying to create a rift between Arthur and John because he knows that unity is going to stand against him and he's not going to do well with it. So why would we not fortify our unity with our other allies? I know we all want to avoid being puppets or pawns, but this is not giving into manipulation. This is being wise enough to know when to play nice to make sure Lilith and manager stay on our side. We can't fight Cain alone. We know that. We can't throw away alliances for pride. And Lilith said herself that the reason the plans and the wager fell apart was because her hubris and ego got in the way and she didn't believe she needed us. I think by deciding that we don't need the manager and Lilith, we're falling into the same trap. I think her admitting that here in this chapter was no coincidence. I think it was a warning. And remember, this poll is mostly about trust versus doubt, not the lighter itself. It's best to trust our allies and have a unified front against the largest and most certain threat of Cain. We may have to wing it anyway if the lighter plan fails, but it would be best to wing it with allies than to wing it on our own and risk turning our infinitely more powerful allies against us in the midst of doing so. Not to mention starting a plan that leaves our allies blindsided could lead to someone getting hurt.
Thank you so much, Taliesin. I loved the submission. It was the one I kept trying really hard not to refer to early in the episode because it's just got so many good points. But that thread of unity, I think people are also saying that doubting is a thread of unity where John and Arthur can only rely on each other. We heard a submission earlier that was saying like a bet on us kind of thing. The thing is, John and Arthur have gone up against Cain alone before, and they couldn't do shit. So, yes, I bet on John and Arthur, but I bet on them for each other. I don't really bet on them when it comes to killing Cain.
Yes, I think that's an important distinction. And while listening to your message, Taliesin, I just had the distinct vision of John and Arthur choosing to delay putting the lighter on Cain, and it becoming apparent that Arthur is going rogue on this plan that he had, and Cain being like, what did you think you were gonna do, Artie? You really thought you were just gonna wing it without the help of like Lilith and blah blah blah? And I just, oh man, I just feel like Cain is going to mock us.
The fact that that Lilith says, if you utterly fail in every way, I have options, to me, that's her watching Arthur go rogue. You know she's planned for this, right? Like, you fully know that she sees how wily Arthur is. She knows firsthand how he can just do his own thing. He's super stubborn. She's accounted for Arthur skipping out on this. She has another plan. I guarantee you it's not a good one.
No.
I guarantee you we're not happy about it.
No, I agree. After listening to almost all of our messages, I am definitely feeling very confident in my vote for trust, and I am going to be definitely keeping an eye on the poll over the weekend to make sure it doesn't flip back.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, these arguments are also great, and I'm sure spending enough time talking about it, I could be flip-flopping all the time. I think, though, that right now I'm very solid in trust, just because, like, of course, because I like plans and I want to stick to the plan, but also because I just feel like it can't. I do think the ending of Malevolent Season 6 is going to narrow down to John and Arthur. I don't think that it's a big stretch to think we kind of do need help to get to that point, though. And I feel like Lilith is such an important character for such a short time that she must be a stepping stone. I just feel like Lilith, while she may not be our friend, she is an ally right now in the way that we can't do it alone. I don't think Arthur is capable of taking down anybody without a little help. When it comes to the fact that, like, he's just a human guy. He's not, we've been told already, he's not an archangel or something.
Right. But not to lean into the mention of angels, but I do think that John and Arthur will always be on their own side, but sometimes they need to collaborate with some of the other forces at play.
Yeah, I agree. And we're going to close out with another pie submission, so hold on to your fucking hats.
Pie, she, her. Oh, cheer up. Look, you'll be back to despising and distrusting each other in no time. It's what humanity is. It's what you're born and bred to do. Distrust and despise. You'll see. Quote Cain, part 55. Of all people, we're going to listen to Cain? Look, I get it. I was a vocal advocate for biting her. But the time in the hunt to wait is not when you're staring down the barrel of the gun. She admitted to how she failed. She let her wrath blind her. She thought she could do it by herself. Why are we trying to repeat her mistake? Her hatred is a strong motivator, but it is not the only thing that drives her. Showing compassion, regardless of how warped her execution of it may have been, did not get her closer to the Blackstone. Needling Arthur about Faro's death did not get her closer to a body, and we do not know that whatever changed when she heard Faro's light is supposed to get her closer to killing Cain. What we know is that Cain wanted Arthur to hate her. Why are we listening to him?
Pie, I don't even know how to express how much I love this submission. It gives my brain happy chemicals directly. The quotes that you pull are so relevant and so good. Your mind must be a steel trap because, like, I forgot Cain said, Lying is what you're born and bred to do.
Lying and doubting and mistrusting. Oh, the baller points. Baller points, Pie.
And the fact that I now remember, oh my God, you're right. Cain did want us to hate Lilith. He was trying to pit Arthur against her. He's scared of her. I think Cain is scared of what Lilith is
I mean, why did he
capable
make the Hand of Malevolence if not...
For
right?
real. Exactly. So I think we need Lilith.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I love John and Arthur. I believe they can do anything together. But that anything right now is allying with Lilith.
I agree. Well, I'm glad that Autopsy helped me make up my mind because I didn't have time to do the prep and research this week. So thank you. Thank you, Queen, for making some beautiful notes and organizing things and doing Autopsy with me and talking me through it and making me see the light of my original gut instinct vote.
Yes, trust me. I'm always right. Just listen to me and my podcast and I can never steer you wrong.
Just trust us.
Ting. Trust us with your vote. Okay, guys. I don't have any issues right now. Great Autopsy. Wonderful time. I love you all. Good night,
Good night, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, of course, to Harlan Guthrie, the sole creator of Malevolent. Without his labor of love for a story he wants to tell, we wouldn't be here. To join the live recording, submit your own message, get in touch with me, and more, visit Linktree/Malevolent Autopsy. The official Invictus Discord server is open to the public and includes a channel just for Malevolent Autopsy fans. We also have our own private, patrons-only channel. Finally, thank you to Mizra, Nikki, Vol Control, and everyone who has helped create and maintain Malevolent Autopsy. These friends are also volunteers who donate time and energy to help put together this love letter to Malevolent. In the end, it's never about certainty. It's about making a choice and moving forward. Until next time, the horrors persist.
But so do we.